I usually don't come on super fast after something big, like to kind of let the dust settle. But the first presidency just announced, and I'm sure if you're paying attention to anything, you're very well aware that President Oaks, President Eyring, and President Christopherson make up the first presidency. We did not hear a new member of the Quorum of the 12. That could come, that could be something that is not done until conference in April, or it could be just announced like our previous one was, and then we ratified it. So we'll see what happens. It's exciting. I've told you several times, soon I have this attachment to President Oaks and President Eyring. We were set apart by President Oaks and called by President Eyring, and had some amazing experiences with both of those men. So we're thrilled. Now, I did want to mention, well, let me do a little plug for Cardio Miracle, and then I'll get into this other stuff. I just want to read a comment by one of our listeners, followers. Her name's Margaret. And Margaret, thanks for saying this. I'm going to read it. Brother Palmer, I listen to you all the time and agree almost all the time. And I bet I know what things she doesn't agree on, but that's okay. She says this: thank you. I wanted to make a comment about Cardio Miracle for you to pass on to John. She's referring to John Hewlett, who's the founder and president of Cardio Miracle and a dear friend of mine. I'll continue quoting now here. A year ago, one of my kidney tests, which had been the same for 4 or 5 years, was around 50. Now, I personally don't know what that means, but this is how she says it, which indicates some decreased kidney function. The last physical, as of 2 weeks ago, put the number at 63, which is totally in the normal range. So 50 wasn't good, showed decrease in kidney function. The range went up to 63, which is in the normal range. Okay, continuing to quote. The only thing I've changed in the last year in my diet or physical activity is the addition of Cardio Miracle, which I started about a year ago. This doesn't prove anything, but it is suspect. The test which increased was the GFR. Okay, there we go, the GFR. I am 81. Thanks again for all your words and convincing me to use Cardio Miracle. So I love it. I love it. So Cardio Miracle is a formula that creates and produces nitric oxide. It also has a ton of stuff in it. You can go online. I'll put a link in the comment section. I'll pin it, which goes to where you can order it and get a discount. Helps me, helps this channel. But you can also explore on that and see all the miracle of nitric oxide. You Google it, check it out. Check out what nitric oxide can do. It gets oxygen into the blood, and when that happens, that's where the miracle happens. Inflammation, regeneration, all these things. Mentally, I know some of you think, well, it hasn't really helped you very much, Palmer. but really, I mean, I'm this close to 68 and still going strong. So give it a shot. I'll put the link in there again. Okay, so back to this, the announcement of the first presidency, and then we also got to hear from Elder Holland. It's on YouTube. We actually watched it on local TV, covered it, so that was great. Gary Stevenson, Elder Stevenson, conducted the short meeting, and it was awesome. These are humble men. Now, the thing I wanted to emphasize is there's no disruption of priesthood keys. I know some people in the church even have issues with priesthood keys. I'm not one of them. I think there has been a continuous flow of those keys from Joseph to now President Oaks. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't some interesting situations in the church and church history and with church leaders. But, let's just read the Old Testament and see that there weren't issues. But that's okay. That's okay. The Lord works with us in all of our imperfections. And that includes everyone, all. But I felt the spirit of it. Of the meeting. I'm grateful. Here's what my hope was. My hope was that and I don't know why, but just to kind of, I don't know, get people stressed out a little bit, I guess. But I was hoping that or thinking that perhaps it could happen that President Oaks would just wait. And he's the president of the Quorum of the 12, not even call another member because you have 14. So it's really the quorum of apostles, right now, because there's not the really, there's 14 counting the first presidency. There's 11 counting, taking away the first presidency. So the Quorum of the 12 doesn't, it doesn't quite fit. So I just say Quorum of apostles. But the thing I was hoping that might happen is he just let it ride and the church goes on and functions. And I think that would have been good for me just to let people know it's okay. It's okay. The church functions. It happened in the past where, between Joseph and Brigham and John Taylor, there was about 3 years in between those two. And almost 2 years into the next one, Wilford Woodruff. So we had these big gaps. Everything continued to go, but we have a first presidency now, and I suspect, sometime there'll be a member of the 12 called, and away we go. So I'm, it's not very often you get to have an opportunity to know the current leadership. I was actually in a meeting with Elder Christofferson one time, and it was awesome. We spoke together when Sue and I presided over a mission. It was a leadership meeting. So I've met him. I've, like I say, sat next to him, spoke with him. It was awesome. And I don't think he was on anybody's radar. I really don't. And he might not have even been on President Oaks's radar until this morning. He said he was surprised, but you could just feel that was the right call. Now, having said that, did you feel at all, and put this, you can put this in the comment section, that we were in a little bit of disarray, or the church wasn't going to function, or who's going to be in the leadership? Is that going to make any difference? Me personally, I didn't feel like there was any disruption. I didn't feel affected by it. I wouldn't even have been bothered if someone else was called to be the prophet and the president of the church, besides President Oaks. I really wouldn't have been bothered by that. I don't really think, now this is where I'll probably ruffle some feathers, but for me, I don't really think it matters a whole lot to us rank and file members who the leader is. Christ is the head of this church. So whoever the leaders are, they are, and they do what they have the keys to do and their responsibility. Quite often I'll use the phrase, not my pig, not my farm, and I'll give my opinion and all that, but when it all comes down to it, I'm just a guy staring into a phone once in a while, shooting my mouth off. So it doesn't really, my day-to-day devotion to Christ and his restored gospel really isn't dependent on who the president or the prophet or who the apostles are. That's just my opinion. Now, some of you might think, no, the Lord calls specific people for specific reasons. And I get that. But for me personally, I've never thought, oh, this is exactly who should be called at this time. And that has an effect on me. Now, I'm not saying the Lord doesn't call for specific time individuals, but I don't think it really matters for me personally who the prophet is and who the apostles are. That's just my opinion, and I'd like to hear yours. What you think. Maybe you're a little more connected or feel a little more that it does have some significance. So. Yeah, let me know what you think there. We had a great evening last night. We met with, I would say maybe half of the people that are going with us to Israel. Some are going to the pre-trip to Egypt. The main trip is Israel, and then some are going on the tag-along trip to Jordan. Sue and I will be there for the whole thing. It was so awesome meeting people. We posted it online, Facebook group for the people that were going. And it just reminded me how special these opportunities are. First, to get to know people. Second, to go to these, particularly the Holy Land and these sacred sites. It's just incredible. Today is Charlie Kirk's birthday. Would have been his, I can't remember how old, 30-something, young 30s. So I'm wearing a shirt. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but on the front part, it says freedom. And on the back, I don't know if you can see that or not. But it's in honor of Charlie. I love him. I love what he stood for. I still am affected by that assassination, and especially having that happen in Utah. I don't know. I didn't think it would have as big effect. I wasn't like a constant follower of Charlie, but I would listen to what he had to say on a fairly regular basis and go, man, that guy's got it. He's got it. And his ability to communicate with people that have a total different opinion, and some are, very aggressively against what Charlie stood for, and yet he was respectful, but in a very bold way, if that makes sense. So I want to think about him today. I also will post a video. It's a guy, I can't remember his name, but he has My Israel channel, and he posted so many videos of the hostages, the living hostages that were all returned to their families yesterday. Sue and I, we were a little early to go to this meeting with our fellow Middle Eastern travelers. And so we were just sitting in the car, and I had this video on my phone, and we were watching the return, and both of us just had tears coming down of the hostages. Unfortunately, the remains of those hostages that were held, their dead bodies, the remains that were held, only a few were returned there, and who knows where that will go. I feel so sorry for those families that did not get the remains of their loved ones, because all of us can relate to that, I think, but there's just something in that Israeli culture that you do not leave anyone behind, whether they're dead or alive. And they were still considered being held hostage, whether they were alive or not, which I thought was really something that we could learn from. Anyway, what a glorious occasion, though, to see an end. And the peace agreements that Trump initiated, and the acknowledgement of Marco Rubio's hand in all that, it was truly amazing. So Trump went to Israel first, met the families, met the hostages that had been returned, and then traveled on to Egypt for the signing and uniting these Arab nations, Middle Eastern nations, in this peace agreement. It's a total miracle. To even have some people on the left side of the aisle, if you will, or on the left leaning, acknowledge the great accomplishment of Donald J. Trump in this. Truly is amazing. He's not perfect. He's not our savior. I'm just speaking of Donald Trump, but he has done some tremendous things, and I hope we can have the opportunity to really see what a miracle Israel is in the aspect of history, in the aspect of world influence. It's just amazing that this tiny, tiny, tiny country, the whole country is about the size of the state of New Jersey, and the surrounded by a lot of people that don't want that country to exist, from the river to the sea. They don't want Israel to exist. And to see that a language has been preserved, that a people have been preserved, that feasts and celebrations and holidays have been preserved, is truly, truly a miracle and biblical prophecy fulfilled. So lots to be thankful for on this particular day. Lots of time to reflect, or lots of things to reflect on. See where we are, if we're squared with God, if we are aligned with His thinking, doing His will, and acknowledging that the only way to God is through Jesus Christ. And once we get that in our being, there's a clarity that comes, and the confusion gets kind of washed away. It doesn't eliminate, problems and issues, but the bigger view is very clear, and it's a glorious thing. I'm looking so forward to the second coming of our Savior. I think it's close, and by close, I say within 5 years. 2030 looks like, to me, a very significant year for a lot of different reasons. And I'll do another video on that later. But anyway, with that, God bless. Thank you for your support on this channel. It really is meaningful to meet people that occasionally go, "Hey, I know you," and I don't agree with everything you say. And I said, good. But just to be, have the opportunity to share, some of my thoughts and feelings, take a little bit of heat once in a while, keep me on balance, or keep me off balance, but keep me grounded, which I, unless they're really nasty comments, I leave them up. Sometimes they're not very nice, but I usually leave them up if they're not too aggressive. So don't be afraid to voice a different opinion. I know I have some strong opinions on the New Jerusalem, on polygamy, and some other things that kind of go against the typical narrative. And I understand that can be a little bit troublesome. But I also know that there's much that we agree on and that we learn from each other. Love the comments. Thank you for commenting and letting me know how you feel about things. If you have a cardio miracle story too, yeah, feel free to share it. I'll share them as I get them. I haven't done too much of that, and I should, because it really is an awesome product. So God bless. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.